womb to be born again? How does that work? Understand. So it's giving you reincarnation. So he's giving you that whole cycle of life and death, birth, rebirth. It's the same situation. So you have Jesus coming in as the Virgo from the Virgin Mary, and then coming back. It's talk about him basically being reincarnated. Jesus is you. So the whole thing about, hey, you're going to come again. Jesus is going to return. You're going to return. And the Zodiac plays a big part in all of this. I've talked about reincarnation a lot in a lot of my videos. It's giving you that you're going to return. And that's what it is. That's basically what it's talking about. It's not no place you're going to go in heaven or anything like that. It's clearly telling you what heaven is. Heaven is the woman's womb. That's where you're going to come back through the birth canal, how water breaks and then she gives birth to you. So we got into this whole thing, but understand how the Zodiac plays a part in that when it's trying to give you those hints. Virgo, first sign, Jesus coming back, which will be the end times, the end of the Zodiac. Leo the lion. Okay. So of course, we got to think about this whole thing and how the moon will actually affect us, bodily, like how it would affect us, our moods. So we understand basically anywhere you live in the world, the lowest level would be sea level, right? So if the moon way up there can affect the tides, the currents, what have you, then us living in our, apartment on the second floor or fifth floor, basically being closer to it, we would be affected. It's just something that sounds crazy and spooky because we ain't really taught about this, but we understand the effects the moon have, and we understand about mood swings. We understand with women how that works with period, and the whole thing with when your girl's on her period run. So this is one of the reasons why they give us the werewolf, and it's a full moon. It's like a werewolf is going to come out and this dude's going to be crazy or what have you. This werewolf is going to chase you around and kill you. And this is where this stuff comes from. The tide of the moon basically turning the tides or what have you. So it will all depend on the phases of the moon. So how we are affected by the moon will depend on the moon phases. So we got a bunch of moon phases as you can see here. And this basically deals with how much light is going to be shining on the moon. And that will determine how much of the moon we'll see, whether it be, crescent moon or quarter moon or half moon or full moon and, so on and so forth. Really depends on how much sunlight reflects off of it. And this would basically correspond with us and us having this effect, the moon having this effect on us. I talked about in many videos before about how it's this whole thing with the moon and, some of the movies depicting us destroying the moon. And it was like, okay, we destroy the moon. What will that change? And the moon is supposed to play a major role with vibration, which, any type of feeling or emotion we would deal with frequency and vibration. So the moon would have to be putting out a frequency and a vibration that is completely different that would affect liquids. So, the airs carry this vibration, this frequency, or what have you. We talked about how you say certain things to water and you can change its composition on a microscopic level, whether it be peaceful or, bad words. It's cymatics. We talked about how the sands could change with certain frequency. There's so much into it that we got to understand. And then we got to realize, like I said before, you can't see the Wi-Fi signal. You can't see the Bluetooth signal. We know it's out there. We can't see it. We know it exists. It will be the same type of situation with the moon where we have this presence, this energy that's affecting us, that's affecting, liquids. So we talk about the moon here. We understand horoscopes have to do, the zodiac, for most part, people understand it has to do with the sun, the sun signs. And to understand that, you got to understand first, go back into the four humors. As I said, the four humors correspond to four elements, which earth, wind, fire, water. And this has to do, of course, largely with the zodiac when you understand what the zodiac is. But you have this, and you have to understand if you have four humors, right, which correspond with four elements, which correspond with the four temperaments. So what we're talking about here, we have this temperament, as I said, temperature and elements. So obviously the four temperaments, the four humors, the four elements has to do with the four seasons. So we're bringing this whole thing together. So we have the four seasons, and the whole, the word temperament, which comes from the Latin word temporare. It's like temporare. It sounds like temporary, but it's temporare, which basically means to mix. So what does that mean? So when they given us the temperaments, these temperaments are mixtures, and these mixtures of the temperaments give us seasons. So these seasons corresponds with, our moods, or, the humors or the temperaments. So the four humors, blood, phlegm, yellow bile, black bile. So blood would be hot and wet. That equals spring. Yellow bile would be hot and dry, which equals summer. Black bile would be cold and dry, which equals fall. And phlegm would be cold and wet, which equals winter. And as we already know, temperature, the weather, the seasons affect your mood. Different times of the year affect your mood. It's just stuff they don't tell us, so we don't understand how much it affects us. So it says here, seasonal forecast, your skin will be drier. The most common response to fall's return is drier skin. Many of us find ourselves reapplying lip balm more frequently and maybe even using a stronger moisturizer. This can be attributed to the decreasing temperature and humidity, which forces the skin to work harder to maintain hydration. According to dermatologists, the skin thrives most in consistent conditions. This means that every seasonal shift and change in weather acts like a shock to the system, disrupting the typical chemical balance of our skin and causing dryness and sometimes severe acne. Another consequence of seasonal change that many people experience is increased weight. Like many other mammals, humans are known to store fat during the winter months. On a scientific level, this is due to the fact that during the seasonal change between late summer and early fall, our bodies increase their insulin resistance. This causes our livers to increase fat production so that we can store fat in our tissues and be better prepared for the winter. The best way to combat fat buildup is through diet and exercise. Aerobic exercise like swimming and running is especially effective at stimulating the metabolism and burning calories, shining a bright light on seasonal affective disorder. Unfortunately, the changing of the seasons can have even more serious repercussions than dry skin and weight gain. For example, seasonal affective disorder, or SAD, can cause major depressive episodes, usually beginning in late fall or early winter. The Journal Archives for General Psychiatry found that SAD causes individuals to secrete the hormone melatonin for longer periods during winter nights than during summer nights. This implies that SAD drives people to sleep more during the winter, even when their bodies are fully rested. Similarly, the Journal of Psychosomatic Research published a study in which participants slept nearly 3 hours more each day in October than any other time of the year. They linked the result of this study to the fact that hypersomnia, the medical term for excessive daytime sleepiness, sometimes occurs when the air starts to crisp up, as it does in fall. Depressive episodes and excessive amounts of sleep can severely impact one's daily function and inhibit our ability to accomplish essential tasks. For this reason, it is important to remain attentive to changes in your general well-being during winter months. If you feel you have SAD, speak to your doctor about using a light therapy box. It's important to be sure that the light therapy approach will help your condition and not negatively affect any other disorders. So we look at it. We got these four humors, and these four humors split our body into four parts. We have these four temperaments that basically deals with these four humors, that deals with our mood. This is all being basically triggered by the moon, and you can say the sun as well, because without the sun shining on the moon, we don't get what we get. But there's also the elemental part of it, where we have, the four elements, what corresponds with the four temperaments and the four humors. So the Zodiac, finally, we get into the actual Zodiac. And the Zodiac, of course, 12 signs. And then the Zodiac makes up these four elements. So the four elements basically get 3 star signs each, which will give us the 12 signs of the Zodiac. And then when you look at where these signs correspond to, of course, you get it. We have earth signs, we have air signs, we have water signs, and you know, fire signs. And what a lot of people don't understand, again, you have these elemental, zodiac signs. And your sign, most people just get into, I'm a Cancer, I'm an Aquarius. And they look at what their sign is talking about and they don't understand the role that the elements play on their actual mood, the physical part of it. So when you go back and start breaking down all the temperaments and the humors, then you start to make sense of it. How, well, wait a minute, if I put this together correctly, I could kind of figure out, what it's talking about. So when you go and look at, your elemental zodiac signs, and, people know this already, you have different moods, of course. Let's start with water. It would be Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. Water signs are intuitive, emotional, and sensual. These people tend to tap into great resources of their inner life to process situations and experiences. They are intrinsically able to connect with others in a sensitive and vulnerable way, with great wells of insight into their own behaviors and motivations. They can more easily perceive the world from a heartfelt, spiritual, or compassionate way. However, because they are so aware of their feelings, they can end up becoming overly emotional, lacking logic or practicality to proceed. People with many water placements in their natal chart may find themselves drawn to be mystics, healers, psychologists, or doctors. They utilize their empathy and understanding of the human spirit to better connect and work for others. Let's go air sign, which I'm an Aquarius. And I assure you this is for men and women. So air signs will be Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. Air signs are intellectual, communicative, and spontaneous. These people are highly logical, curious, and adaptive. They can easily process complex ideas, projects, and relationships, and prefer variety over consistency. With the lust for life, they pursue expansion rather than waiting to be rooted in one plan forever. As visionaries and free spirits, they are eager to explore and are often quiet social. However, because they are so cerebral, they can actually be quite detached from their emotions or the practical world. People with a large amount of air in their birth charts make great teachers, communicators, architects, or planners. They can easily think outside the box and utilize their knowledge and people skills to make things happen. Fire. The fire signs are Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. The fire signs are passionate, courageous, and impulsive. These people inspire us to pursue adventure, take risks, and express ourselves. They often have high levels of energy and enthusiasm. They love to burn hot and shine brightly. Quick to embrace spontaneity, their emotions are afferent. Oftentimes, they are quick to love, to feel fury, or to act. However, because their energy is so alive, they can also change their minds quite quickly too. People with a lot of fire in their birth charts are often drawn to become performers, athletes, artists, or creators. We are typically enchanted by people with fire energy because they are unafraid to step into the spotlight. Earth. Earth signs are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. Earth signs are practical, stable, and grounded. These people are very hardworking and value stability and security in all areas of their lives. Their solid energy allows them to tackle long-term goals and plans. Where the other signs will lack perseverance, as natural managers and builders, they create structures in their lives and society that have an impact. However, as the slowest moving element, they are the most resistant to change. People with a sufficient amount of earth in their birth charts are typically business or financial oriented and flourish in result-based industries. These people often become highly successful because they know how to methodically get what they are after over time. And this is one of the things I want to touch on because I know some of you will hear that and be like, that's not me. Or a lot of times, as I said before, you'll read your horoscope and it doesn't fit you, but you'll read another sign and it'll fit you. So as it says here, you are a mix of many elements, not just one. This is something I've been telling people for years, but they don't want to understand it. While it may be easy to think that you're just one element due to your sun sign, we actually have many planetary placements in our birth chart that impact who we are in totality. For instance, your moon sign and ascendant will play a significant role in how you react and how you present yourself. Your other natal planets, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, also have their own unique energies, but may fall into different fire, earth, air, or water signs. By realizing that we are a mix of many different elements, we can better understand that there are multiple facets to what makes each of us unique, rare, and beautiful. So some of this may be confusing to a lot of people. You are used to reading horoscopes, and then horoscopes give you, specific things that you should do. You should be more friendly this day, or today you might feel like this, or this might happen, or, you might lose your job, or it might be issues. So the question I usually get from a lot of people about this is, how do they know? What is that? Go online, use your phone or what have you, and you go to horoscopes, and how do they know? How do they know in Aquarius it's going to feel like this, or this is going to happen to a Cancer or a Leo? How do they know? And you have to understand that we get caught up and we're arrogant, really arrogant about, history and information. Like, we just started this shit a week ago. This is thousands of years of research that they have been doing. Remember, we can go back to the ancient Egyptians, and there's astrology. People understood atoms, they understood moods, they understood the stars, and all this stuff I'm talking about. They know, they already knew. So you have to understand that over the years and doing the research and being around people, which this would be a physician that would really be, compiling this information during, medieval times, because it's so many people that they're checking on and dealing with, and they understand these traits. And over time, they compiled what makes who what. And it's like a list. And it's people who are astrologers. If you get into that, you would study it. And this is like so much information you have to get into, and how it relates to people, and what are the things that they use to help determine this is what we're talking about here. So